President Uhuru Kenyatta has called for the Group of Seven to enhance its collaboration with Africa to address global challenges, including poverty, immigration, climate change, and terrorism. Kenyatta said Africa is a vital partner in solving the world's most pressing challenges. He was addressing the Africa Outreach session at the G7 summit in Taormina, Italy.
On the fact that it's time for them to also start listening to the African story. It's time for them to stop dictating positions to the continent, but rather listen to what Africa's needs are and see how they can harmonize their own objectives with ours, as opposed to it being a talk-down. We need to be able to discuss, to deliberate, and indeed recognize that Africa is coming forth. Africa is now in a position to be able to understand where her problems lie, what the solutions are, and the need for them to partner with us in terms of building homemade solutions as opposed to imported solutions to our problems.
He also talked about opportunities and challenges in the development of Africa.
The key issue, which was the opportunities, especially the opportunities that derive from innovation and the progress and steps that we have made in innovation, the progress and steps that we are making, especially with regard to engaging the young people in Kenya and on the African continent, and the possibilities that the internet and mobile telephony has to help us create jobs, create prosperity for our country and for the other countries on the African continent.
Kenyatta also stressed the need for Africa's partnership and solidarity with G7 countries to fight terrorism.
All we have agreed, really, is that we need to enhance that ability. We need to accept and understand that terrorism is not a fight that belongs to a country. This is a global war, and we must all partner together in order to ensure that we succeed.
Leaders of the Group of Seven, or G7 countries, ended a major summit on Saturday with a common position on terrorism and an improved understanding on free trade, but no real progress on climate change.
Leaders from the U.S., Canada, Britain, France, Germany, Italy, and Japan met for talks in the town of Taormina, Sicily, on Friday and Saturday. U.S. President Donald Trump faced pressure from his 6 allies to soften his stand against free trade and multilateral agreements. In line with this, a pledge to fight protectionism was included in the G7 final communique. It said, quote, "We acknowledge that free, fair, and mutually beneficial trade and investment, while creating reciprocal benefits, are key engines for growth and job creation. We reiterate our commitment to keep our markets open and to fight protectionism, while standing firm against all unfair trade practices." However, the divide between the U.S. and the other powers on climate change could not be breached. Trump did not endorse the Paris Climate Agreement to cut global carbon emissions, but said his administration would review the policies and make a final decision soon. He previously hinted the U.S. might pull out of the Paris deal. The other 6 member states and the EU acknowledged the U.S. reviewing process, but affirmed their commitment to implementing the Paris Agreement.
The world's largest container ship, the Oriental Hong Kong, has successfully berthed at the automated terminal of Xiamen Port in East China's Fujian province.
The ship, 400 meters long and 58.5 meters wide, with a maximum volume of over 21,000 TEU, arrived at Xiamen Ocean Gate Container Terminal on Friday. It stayed in Xiamen for about 20 hours.
Xiamen is actually the 3rd port in this service. On the Ocean Alliance service, we are going from China to North Europe. So far on this service, this is the only automated terminal that we come to in China.
The automated terminal is China's first home-developed automated container terminal. It has a fully automated electric-powered operating system, which enables it to save about 25% of power compared to traditional terminals.
Automated container terminal means that we could put our needs into its computer, and it will help us calculate how we should upload and unload container ships. It is different from how we did things in the past, in terms of technology, management, and talent training. It is also more environmentally friendly. It saves manpower and is fully automatic.
Xiamen Harbor has 6 berths for the large container ships.
The first part of Pakistan's Sahiwal power plant was inaugurated on Thursday. It's the first major power plant constructed under the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, or CPEC, and is expected to meet the power demand of 10 million Pakistanis.
The first unit of the Sahiwal power project will generate 660 megawatts of electricity to Pakistan's national grid, helping to reduce power shortage in the country. The total capacity of the project is over 1,300 megawatts, with the second unit due to be operational next month. The plant, completed in a record period of 22 months, has already been linked to the national grid. Officials said some 190 Pakistani engineers trained in China have been employed for plant operations. Chinese ambassador to Pakistan, Sun Weidong, said the power plant shows early success from the CPEC, adding more beneficial outcomes are on their way.
4 Pacific Alliance countries, including Chile, Colombia, Mexico, and Peru, are seeking to increase tourists from China. This statement was made at this year's Pacific Alliance Tourism Summit.
This event brings together executives and officials from 4 alliance countries, Chile, Colombia, Mexico, and Peru, as well as around 250 tour operators and tourism companies, including ones from China. Established in 2012, the Pacific Alliance is a trade bloc of these 4 Latin American nations bordering the Pacific Ocean. Participants noted that the Chinese market offered very high growth opportunities, given the fact that the number of Chinese tourists in Chile is rising, as well as in Mexico, Peru, and Colombia.
We were told that by 2025, in just 8 years, we will receive from 132 million Chinese travelers to 220 million. And that's an opportunity we cannot afford to miss.
Colombia said they recognize the importance of communication and are now looking at the most popular platforms in China.
One of the cool things we did was create a platform in WeChat, which is the equivalent of WhatsApp. It is an important social platform.
Egypt Stock Exchange rose in its first trading session in the holy fasting month of Ramadan.
Egypt Stock Exchange rose on Sunday to gain 2 billion Egyptian pound, backed by Arab and foreign purchases. The market's benchmark EGX 30 index soared 0.85%. Egypt is busy negotiating billions of dollars in aid to help revive its economy hit by political unrest. Earlier, Egypt's Minister of Investment and International Cooperation met with the World Bank's regional director in Cairo to discuss the disbursement of the third bailout tranche.
Moving on to some company news, chaos continues at London's Heathrow Airport with British Airways flight delays.
More than a third of British Airways flights from Heathrow were cancelled as thousands of passengers faced a second day of disruption. The airline was hit by a worldwide computer system power failure on Saturday. All long-haul services left from Heathrow, but with delays. The airline has urged people to check the status of flights before traveling to the airport. Echo, a Chinese tech company, plans to lay off 325 employees in the U.S. due to challenges with raising new capital. That's according to a statement from its North American headquarters in San Jose, California, which opened April last year. Echo noted that the breadth of the business model is capital-intensive, and it has been difficult in the past few months to support all the business priorities. The company talked about hiring 700 people at its Silicon Valley facility last year, but has not updated the actual size of its U.S. workforce.
Alibaba has become the second largest shareholder of a major Chinese supermarket chain through share purchasing as part of the company's plan to combine online and offline retail. According to the supermarket majority shareholder, Shanghai-based Bailian Group, Alibaba bought 201 million shares from Ego.com to obtain an 18% of stake in Lianhua Supermarket. Lianhua operates around 3,600 hypermarkets, supermarkets, and convenience shops in about 19 provincial-level regions. Alibaba announced a strategic partnership with Bailian in February to transform China's vibrant retail sector. The company said the partnership would integrate online and offline business to combine tradition and innovation. Airbus Group's helicopter manufacturing arm has begun construction of its first assembly line for commercial aircraft in China. The plant, located in the city of Qingdao in eastern China's Shandong province, will be jointly operated by Airbus Helicopters and Qingdao United General Aviation Company. Company sources said the plant will be completed in 2018 and is designed to produce 18 H-135 helicopters a year, but capacity could be further raised according to demand. The first aircraft is likely to be rolled out in 2019. In 2016, China emerged as the largest civil helicopter market for Airbus helicopters, thanks to the opening of low-altitude airspace that stimulated a boom in demand. The Costco opened its first gasoline service station in Mexico. The gas station is located in the capital of San Luis Potosi, next to its department store subsidiary. The free competition in prices allows the new gas station to offer cheaper fuel costs. Some of the dispatching pumps are self-service and only accept payment by bank cards. The construction and opening of the new gas station was possible thanks to the federal energy reform that allows free competition in fuel sales.
British Prime Minister Theresa May and German Chancellor Angela Merkel are two of the most powerful women in the world. Experts say, as important political figures, the two leaders have something in common, but they're also very different. Meanwhile, as negotiating partners of the Brexit, they also have a key role to play in the process.
When May became UK's new Prime Minister, media have greeted her arrival with headlines such as English is Angela Merkel, May is Britain's Merkel, or simply the Britain Merkel.
The most obvious thing they share is, of course, that they're both women, which means that they have probably worked harder and struggled more than other people to get where they are. So these are two very competent people. I think both of them are, as we have seen and as we will see more of, they both will be defenders of democratic principles, frankly. Now they're for globalization.
I think their commonalities are that they're tough women in this political atmosphere, and that they're competent, that they have similarities. They were really women of this age, very tough, competent, and with class. So they could manage, and they are doing well.
Meanwhile, the two leaders are very different in many aspects.
They're very different, of course, in that Madame Merkel has been around a longer time and has much greater experience of the international milieu. Now they're for globalization, especially Madame Merkel, who has taken very brave stands in regard to refugees, in regard to doing what is right, in regard to receiving people openly with compassion, even as she took a political risk to do so. Mrs. May is less tested, but I think she's also a person of old liberal principles.
I think Angela Merkel is more willing to have a discussion before a decision has been taken. And I think in the case of Theresa May, we see how there's a more top-down approach, in which Theresa May will set up the direction, and others will have to follow, will have to deliver on that direction that has been set up.
Merkel has been criticized for being quite conservative in her policy making.
She's a person of integrity, absolutely, but she has been accused, perhaps correctly, of always perhaps waiting to see which way public opinion and which way the winds are blowing politically. I don't say that in a negative sense. She almost always comes down on the side of a good and principled choice, but she does wait before she makes her moves, that's true.
May has a reputation as a serious-minded workaholic and has been dubbed a safe pair of hands by supporters. They maintain that she can be trusted to steer the country as the UK begins the fraud process of divorcing the European Union.
There has been a saying that Donald Trump's victory of U.S. president election has forced greater responsibility for defending Western values and interests onto Merkel's shoulders. Some even crown her the new leader of the free world.
She is. It's as simple as that. It's not she will be. Maybe what you imply is that she will be the leading person since the administration has changed in Washington. I think that's very true.
I think it is true that Angela Merkel is today one of the most important figureheads of liberalism at the international level. This is both in economics and also in politics. She's more willing to open the economy. So I think she's taking this leading role. Having said that, obviously Germany doesn't have the same power of the US at the international level. So even if she becomes the leader of the free world, a question is how many countries are going to be willing to follow her. And I think that's a question that is too soon to answer.
Europe is so different, they can't really maybe get the feeling for it. Of course, if you compare Angela Merkel, our chancellor, with many European high-level politicians, she is definitely very serious. At least she presents herself as very serious, very competent. But is she really? And if you compare it with poor Hollande in France, or with Renzi in Italy, Rajoy in Spain, of course she is tough compared to this man. But is it everything? I don't think so.
I think that's very true, and she'll be outstanding. But she herself rejects the idea that she is the leader of the free world, and has even referred to that as absurd. The continent of Europe is not a dictatorship. She doesn't want to be seen as God.
Trump's election has given Merkel a popularity bounce. Before November, only about 44% Germans wanted Merkel to stay on as anger mounted domestically over her liberal refugee policy. But surveys over the recent weeks showed support had jumped to 60%. Merkel has confirmed that she's ready to run for the fourth term in office in 2017 election. She said she will run for a full term of 4 years. Experts believe she may face pressure both at home and abroad.
I think Angela Merkel is going to have to overcome three obstacles. The first one, her refugee policy, obviously is very unpopular among the German electorate, so she will need to change her stance unless she wants to stand by her principle and assume that the German people will still re-elect her. The second obstacle I think that she might be suffering is the fact that there are going to be elections in places such as France or the Netherlands before elections take place in Germany. What happens if let's say, populist government is elected in any of these two countries? Is it going to be able to withstand populism within Germany as well? And I think the third important obstacle is what happens with Russia, what happens with the US. This relationship is about to change fundamentally. Germany has tried to play a very careful balance under the Obama administration between the wishes of the US, for example, sanctions on Russia, and its economic needs, oil and gas coming from Russia.
Domestic pressure, and we're seeing the same thing in Britain, we're seeing the same thing, it appears, in France, we're seeing the same thing in the United States.
I think the main obstacle will be the right-wing leaders in Europe. So this is one. The banking system or bank system is another problem to be solved, and this might arise again next time. And I think the party as herself are already tired. And I don't think if the party and herself is provided with all these long-term visions we need right now.
When it comes to Brexit talks, experts say Merkel is May's most important negotiating partner.
May and Merkel have opposing aims when it comes to what Brexit looks like. May is under pressure to somehow deliver full trade access to the European single market, while at the same time to control migration from the EU. But Merkel has been adamant for years that despite what Brexiteers have been claiming, this is not possible.
I think Merkel is going to be the key person throughout the Brexit process. If Germany doesn't agree to a particular type of Brexit, the European Union is not going to be able to offer that type of Brexit. So in a sense, Germany, you could argue, informally has veto power over what type of agreement is going to be offered to the UK. Plus, we shouldn't forget that Angela Merkel, if she's re-elected, she will have been in power much longer than any other current European leader. So she will be not only in charge of the negotiation process, but she will be able to draw on her experience to actually offer the UK an agreement that she thinks other countries in the European Union will be able to agree and sell to their own electorates. When it comes to Theresa May, I think it's going to be an important position that she's going to have during the Brexit process, but I don't think it's going to be as essential, because we know that the UK wants to achieve, or the UK will want to achieve a set of particular goals. Once these are set up, I think there's going to be little room for maneuver for the UK, and it will be a question of whether the European Union is willing or not to offer certain concessions to the UK.
It's a difficult question because Brexit will start March next year, if it starts March next year, and it will go for 2 years, as far as I know. And we will see many changes in Europe next year. Many governments are maybe going to have a new president, prime minister, change of government. So you don't know where the EU is going to be at that time. And both are tough, and they will try to show, of course, that I am the winner, or I will show you the way. But I don't think that Merkel will be in a good position to be very hard with her.
I think she feels honor bound to try to implement Brexit. But in fact, as far as I understand, she was against it. And so she's confronted with implementing something which she will do as best she can, which possibly she doesn't believe in her deepest heart.
Britain is now preoccupied with securing its future outside the European Union. And some experts believe in the short to medium term, the growth prospect of the country is not that optimistic.
I think in the short to mid-term, the next 2 to 5 years, economic prospects in the UK are not necessarily very good, because there's going to be a lot of uncertainty about Brexit. And if there's something that business doesn't like, it's uncertainty. Now, if the UK is able to reach a good agreement with the European Union, let's say access to the common market, or a trade agreement that involves, if not perfect access to a single market, but at least access in many different sectors in which the UK is strong, such as financial services, I think that in the long term the UK is not going to suffer as much as it might have been suggested. But I think this all depends on the political process, and obviously in the short term we know politics will trump economics, and the UK will actually suffer.
Some even say Germany may benefit from the Brexit for a short-term boost.
专业的团队，丰厚的经验。
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to the Lake Cook Law Group.
投资理财、法律咨询，芝加哥专业律师团队为您的梦想提供最安全的保障。
Hi, this is Little Chinese Channel, 小小中文 Lesson 12. In this lesson, we will be teaching you these 6 Chinese characters. From our last lesson, we learned the character Wang. If we put a dot on top of Wang, this character is Zhu. Zhu means host or primary. 主人 means host or owner. 主要的 means primary. These 2 characters contain 主. Next, we'll learn a new root character. What's this? Da means big. 大山 means big mountain. 大小 means size. If we put a dot under 大, this character is 太 means 2 or very. 太大 means too big. 太好 太好太好太好 means too nice. If we put this dot in the upper right corner, it turns into 犬means canine. 幼犬means puppy. If we turn 犬 back into 大 and add a horizontal stroke like this, it turns into 天 means day or heaven. 三天 means 3 days. 白天 means daytime. 天空 means sky. If we take 天 and exchange that stroke with a stroke that looks like this, it transforms into 无 means none or not. 无关 means unrelated or having nothing to do with something. 无法 means unable. Now, let's write. And remember to follow the stroke sequence. Zhuo Da Tai Quan Tian Wu Bye-bye, the lesson is done.